Guys, I really need your help. You need to let me know which direction, based on these descriptions I've given you today, should we take Project Blueberry. Welcome back to part 3 of Project Blueberry. If you guys aren't already aware of this series, this is the concept where we take a fragrance idea from yourselves in the community and we try to make it from scratch, make it a reality into our own brand, Atrium, which you can find the product page for this project already in a link in the description down below. This is a project that came by accident. Someone left a comment from another video. This was not going to be related to Atrium at all. I saw that someone wanted a blueberry fragrance, and then a bunch of other ideas came out around this concept, and essentially we've now started a video series. The different stages all the way from concept to mass production. In part 1, we looked at the briefs of Project Blueberry, where I'm essentially requesting a certain idea, a certain direction from the perfumer. It is going to be the fragrance house Firmenich, who we're going to explore their first iterations today in this part. Part 2 was looking at other blueberry fragrances that already exist on the market to see where we stand today in terms of blueberry scents. And in part 3 today, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the first iterations that I've received from Firmenich that are trying to match my request, my brief that I highlighted in part 1. The general concepts were that, first of all, I wanted a fresh blueberry fragrance. Secondly, I wanted a spicy blueberry fragrance. And then thirdly, I wanted a coffee and iris blueberry fragrance. These are kind of a combination of my idea, the fresh blueberry scent, as well as 2 other comments that wanted the spicy and the coffee one. So we kind of went through those 3 directions. I'm going to now tell you guys about these first iterations I received from Firmenich. They send you these samples here. This is like their little bottles here. It's kind of like a glass cylinder thing with a very long atomizer over here. Today we have 4 different fragrance samples that Firmenich have sent me that are going to have their in-house code names hidden for now. I have the note breakdown here on screen in front of me in this laptop, so I'm going to be referring to it and reading from there as I'm describing these different iterations to you guys. You'll be sad to hear not a single one of these fragrances actually has a note of blueberry in here. I think these are base compounds that kind of have the idea, like a currant note or a berry note, and I think the idea is that as we're working with them, they're going to add that blueberry accord. I've mentioned in another video, as far as I know, you can't get a natural blueberry note. You're going to kind of have to recreate a fantasy accord anyways. So maybe we're just working on step 1, the base of everything, and then we're going to add the blueberry aspect later on. We have the first compound here. I'm going to call it Mr. Fig on screen right now. This has prominent notes of pink pepper, rhubarb, purple fig, frankincense, sandalwood, and oak moss. So this is going to be quite woody. It's going to be fruity. I can smell it from the atomizer already. I quite like this. So I've worn all of these on my skin already, so it's not the first time I'm wearing them, but this, how would I describe it? It's kind of modern. It's kind of designer-esque. I'm just letting it come to me in the air right now. If you like fragrances like King, for example, Dolce&Gabbana, then there's kind of that kind of vibe, like King Eau de Parfum vibe, maybe because of that woody fig that's obviously is in that fragrance also. By the way, guys, I really want you guys to listen to these descriptions and help me decide which direction we should take this project, because I'm not going to be able to work on all of these iterations at the same time with the perfumers. Have to choose maybe 1 or 2 max, I think. To me, this is balanced. It is modern, clean, easy to like, masculine. I do think that this does smell a bit basic though, a little bit simple. I'd have to try and make this more complex and more interesting. Right now, I'm not really getting a blueberry aspect at all. I'm not really even really getting much of a fig aspect. I'm kind of getting like a blackcurrant aspect. It kind of smells like a juicy blackcurrant. Kind of think if this was like a masculine, fresh blueberry fragrance. That's the kind of like eventual direction I can see this being developed to. It's simple, it smells designer. I'm not sure if it smells quite niche. I feel like this has potential, but it just smells a little bit flat. That's the issue. I feel like this could be like suited for a middle of the house, like designer fragrance brand. Someone's selling a fragrance for like £50 maybe. It's nice, it's pleasant, it has potential. Let's move on to the next iteration. Again, guys, let me know what direction do you think we should take this into. Next up, we have the second compound. I'm going to call this Mr. Sweetie because this is quite a sweet fragrance right now. The prominent notes here are going to be blackcurrant, cinnamon, benzoin, tonka bean, amber, and vanilla. So this is obviously a lot more sweet now. No blueberry note, but a blackcurrant note. This is a bit closer to what a blueberry fragrance would smell like, in my opinion. This is very sweet, quite unisex, I would say. More one-dimensional. This is like sweetness overload. This is going to be an evening fragrance for sure. The first fragrance I can see maybe being like a versatile signature, but this It's quite sexy, but just I'm not sure if it's fitting this brief. So sometimes when you're making a fragrance, you can appreciate it smells good, but it doesn't actually meet the requirements you want. I don't know if this is very masculine. I think it's too sweet. With these kind of fragrances, if they're too sweet, I see them only as cold weather appropriate. I kind of want to give you guys a fragrance you can wear throughout the year, something a bit more balanced. I don't think this would be the one I would pick, but let me know, guys. Do you want to see like a really sweet take on the blueberry idea? Something that are probably more suited for the evening. I'll have to make this more masculine probably. It's an interesting fragrance, very warm, inviting, sweet, but right now I'm feeling number one more than number two. The third compound, I'm actually dreading putting this on my skin. Let's call it Mr. Alcoholic for now, because actually the idea that Firmenich were trying to come across with this base or this initial compound was that they were actually trying to recreate a wine accord. It kind of smells like a red wine smell, a little bit like fermented alcohol, very sweet. Prominent notes are dried grapes, nutmeg, tonka bean, labdanum, patchouli. These are not all the notes, guys, but I'm kind of giving you what I think are probably the most prominent to my nose, at least. Yeah, this to me smells like a mess. It smells like an alcoholic. Like, think of, I don't know if you guys ever had a situation like when you're sitting in a plane and someone like orders like 5 red wines next to you on a plane and it just stinks. It kind of is that vibe. It just smells really pungent. It's an interesting idea, maybe trying to recreate like a red wine fragrance, but this is weird. I don't think I'd ever want to make this our fragrance eventually. Yes, you could say, okay, let's make this more blueberry-esque. I'd have to reduce the sweetness a lot. I feel like the red wine accord is overpowering all the other notes. I'm not really getting much else, so I'd have to make the other notes shine. I feel like you would need too much work for this. It just feels like this is a losing battle. Some compounds, when you're developing or doing a creative direction, you just kind of need to let them go. This is not a winner. This is not a winner compound. So right now, number one is still winning the most. Number two is a little bit worse. Number three is a lot worse. I'm not feeling this, but let me know, guys. Are you insistent perhaps on a red wine fragrance? I don't think this works. And then lastly, let's say number four is called Mr. Suede, because this is an interesting compound. It has prominent notes, from what I can see, of blackcurrant, apple, ambergris, musk, amber, and iris apparently is in here as well. Apparently agarwood is in here, so that's another name for oud. I can kind of actually get all those notes, but to me, this is not that fruity a fragrance. It has the blackcurrant and green apple in there, but to me, the green apple is the only thing that comes out later on. But this smells quite suedey, musky. This feels like an incomplete fragrance, but a potential for a very nice, clean, smooth, creamy fragrance that can have a blueberry effect added on top. I feel like if we wanted to create a spring or summer warm weather blueberry fragrance, this is the base we would work with. So this feels incomplete. Like the first one felt complete, but it felt a bit basic, so it had more complexity. This just feels like it needs more nuance in general, but it needs to have its own character, be fully developed. I would have to add that blueberry note, of course, but it's quite clean, very easy to like. It kind of gives off like another 13 vibes, if you know that fragrance by Labo. So smooth, clean, musky, airy, bright, summery is what I would say this fragrance smells like. Not really anything to do with currants or berries. To my nose right now, it kind of doesn't have that vibe, but some interesting notes here for sure. So those were the 4 compounds I was provided for Project Blueberry. Honestly, compared to other projects, I didn't really fall in love with any of these, which was kind of disappointing. So we kind of had this spicy take with that number 2, Mr. what do I call it? Mr. Sweetie or something like that? Number 2 with those spices, the cinnamon, etc., etc. So that could be the spicy take, very sweet, very intense. Number 1 was probably the fresh take, I would say. Balanced, woody, quite simple, but it works. It kind of has like a Ribena vibe. If anyone from the UK knows Ribena, it's like a, I don't know how you describe it, it's like a concentrate you put in and like kids love it. It's kind of that kind of vibe, like almost like a blackcurrant Ribena vibe, not fig. I'm not really getting that much fig. However, we do have one more compound. What is this, you might be wondering? So remember, I gave the direction of fresh, spicy, based on your suggestions, guys, and then one other person suggested the coffee and iris blueberry fragrance. Now, completely unrelated to this project, because it's really weird. This is like a big detour now in the video. Because Pantone actually decided their color of the year, they kind of have this award. I had no idea how this all was eventually linked to me, but Firmenich wanted to celebrate Pantone's color of the year, which was a mocha brown. So they made a bunch of different fragrances that were related to this theme. So the perfumers in Firmenich wanted to create something that represents this color, and they sent me a bunch of their fragrances. I said to them, you know, I want to make a blueberry fragrance. I'm not really sure what a fragrance representing the color mocha brown has to do with this project, but maybe in a completely unrelated fashion, they said, you know what, we're going to send them to you and see what you think. And basically, Firmenich said to us that Atrium's motto of approaching creativity, what we're all about, really fits what the perfumers created for this award, this mocha brown color. I'm not going to go through all those compounds, guys, but there is one of them that really stood out to me that I think could be Project Blueberry. I'm going to spray it on my hand again over here. I've given this a full wear in this fragrance. I'm getting the scent right now. It's got fantastic projection, prominent notes of nutmeg, cardamom, cocoa beans, black coffee, leather, and Oris rhizome, which is the natural form of iris. So that's right, this meets that suggestions, coffee and iris plus blueberry, potentially blueberry request. And he's lucky because from a completely unrelated compound, from a completely different concept, this came to us, and lucky for them, I really like this. Feminica is saying that this scent should transport you to a cozy cafe. I can kind of see that. This is ambery, spicy, woody. It smells like a dark, intense coffee, a little bit chocolatey. You think this would be very unwearable, too intense, too, let's say that cold weather thing I was saying before, very much limited in its wearability, but actually this is surprisingly balanced as well. I will say, initially that spiciness and the woodiness can be a little bit intense. It kind of gives that photorealistic spice cabinet effect that some people, you know, I refer to some fragrances like that when the spiciness is a bit too realistic. So my feedback for this compound might be that I tone down the spiciness and woodiness a slight amount, very tiny amount. I don't think it needs much changing. And then we add this blueberry notes, this blueberry accord on top of this. This is really sexy. I'm kind of getting date night vibes from this right now, but maybe that blueberry changes things quite a bit. But I think this could be a really sexy blueberry coffee chocolate gourmand. That's very unique. I really like this. This could be a great base. To be honest, I'm feeling this the most out of all the compounds, and this wasn't even related to the initial project. That concludes this video, guys. I really need your help. You need to let me know which direction, based on these descriptions I've given you today, should we take Project Blueberry. This is a project I'm making from you guys, basically, from your idea. So it needs to be something that's going to be given justice to you. It's going to be something that you feel happy to have, something that really feels like a love letter to the community, that makes School Scent and Atrium possible. To summarize, I'm only feeling 3 compounds in total. Number 3 for me would be that Mr. Suede, musky, bright, green apple, potentially spring summer direction we take the blueberry fragrance. Number 2 might be the Mr. Fig, which is quite simplistic, almost designer-esque right now, but at least it's balanced and masculine. And then for me, number 1 would be the coffee fragrance. I didn't give it a name. Let's call it Mr. Espresso, for example. This fragrance smells really sexy. Again, a full wearing. It has so much character. It's so rich. It smells masculine. It could be like a really sexy, balanced blueberry gourmand. Let me know, guys. Out of those 3, which one would you say we should go forward with? I am thinking the Mr. Espresso, to be honest, for myself. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you check out our previous parts of the series up here. Let us know your thoughts and comments down below, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.